Are we ready?
Yes, sir. We're recording now.
Okay. Oh, well, good morning. It's Ron. I'm just saying I was just talking and I was on mute. Sorry about that. And I was just saying we're still without power in most places in the upstate here in South Carolina. Uh, but a thankful thing could be worse is we could be having extreme weather. It was it's not too hot, it's not too cool, and I'm thankful for that. And I was able to get out this morning and go find some gasoline. So uh, things could always be worse. And we see situations like this all the time that people go through things, and we do think about them. We do say a little prayer for them, even feel for them. But until you experience something like this is kind of weird because as much as I might like to read or meditate or whatever, it's different when you have to do it because you don't have a choice. So this has been a little different. Been a little different. And one of the things I've been doing is asking the Creator, what do you want us to prepare for? What is it that we ought to see here? Uh, so this is different. But anyway, any questions and or comments on anything? Anyone?
Ron, I would like to make a comment.
Of course.
Did you guys notice after the hurricane or whatever, how clear the air was? It's like cataracts had fallen off of my eyes because it just had a clearer look after the hurricane and after the winds and everything and the rain. It's like the earth was cleansed. So I don't know if anybody else noticed that, but it was just, the sky looked different and everything. I'm done.
Thank you for that. I'm sorry, someone else was saying something?
Captain, your father will be in his office if you have any problems with those.
Okay. Uh, Thank you for that observation. And you're exactly right. In fact, I noticed last evening how cool it got when the sun went down. It got a little cool here, and I thought about that. And see, I think everything is connected. I look at this being election year. I look at the climate, uh, uh, the political and the human thing that is going on here in the earth. And I always think things are connected, help me to see what it is. And you just hit the nail on the head. Maybe that clarity is something we're supposed to pay attention to. Maybe it pulled out all the dirt and the grime and the hurricane was a cleansing for us. At least that's where I'm going to see it. That's what I'm going to look at it as. It was a cleansing that took place, and
See that?
yeah, yeah. So that's thank you for your observation. Anyone else on anything?
Yeah. Good morning, Ron. Good morning, everyone. This is DC
Good morning.
Philly. And I just want to, again, piggyback on, what Evelyn mentioned in terms of cleansing. And when we think about that, it makes me appreciate that it's a cleansing that's taking place in the universe. And,
Yeah.
and if we can see it in that way, that nature is speaking to us, what we're experiencing are giving us an awakening. That's the blessing to know that we are connecting to that, and us being able to appreciate it in whatever we do, but more importantly, looking at the spiritual evolvement in terms of what we're asked to be aware of and to do. And so when I think about, the teachings that has been transpiring, in terms of our conversation, is being able to appreciate how it's nurturing us, teaching us. So I just wanted to share that thought in terms of the cleansing, because I think it's definitely manifesting, it's definitely happening, and hopefully now we can grasp it in the way that we can understand how the Spirit is guiding us to share our loving kindness and those aspects of who we are and our character. I'm done.
Yeah. Thank you, George. I think you and Evelyn hit it right on the head. That has to do with the journey and consciousness. What we see, what we recognize, what we are aware of, and things happen in the earth, and we don't always see them. We're not always aware of what's happening to us in a spiritual sense, and to a lot of those, and rightfully so, I suppose, people that have lost property, have lost valuable things, see this somewhat differently, and we see it as something, of course, horrific, because there are people who have lost their lives, but to try to pull the positive from it too, and see the value in why this has to happen, what does cleansing mean, not just a physical washing, but spiritually, what does all of this mean? The purifying of the air, the bringing in the freshness, as Evelyn seen, the cataracts being lifted and the sun being clearer. It's bringing in beauty, bringing balance back into the way things are intended to be. So I appreciate your observations. Anyone else?
Good morning, Ron. This is Jackie. I'm sorry.
Hey, Jackie. No, go
Hey,
ahead.
I was
I'm sorry.
No, worries. I was just so glad that we were on today, because I was just trying to I know there was a spiritual connotation to this, to the hurricane. And like you said, you can't do anything but meditate. And I was a little unsettled initially, because I'm here with my dad and trying to get him settled and trying to get myself settled to make sure, everybody's calm. So thank you, Evelyn, and you yourself, Ron, and GC, for those observations, because that just helped bring clarity, because I knew there is a spiritual connotation to this, but I just couldn't get settled down enough to be honest with you, just to see. So thank you, guys.
Yeah. It reminded me of Hugo. I haven't felt this since Hugo, but the difference with Hugo was I was with family, and here I'm isolated, and not only isolated, the last few days, especially Friday evening, Saturday morning, the phone service was kind of spotty. Trying to talk with my sister, trying to talk with Pastor, and that's why Pastor hasn't been on, because his phone service is spotty. And that's when it got my attention. It's like, don't get frustrated. Sit back and relax a minute. Just sit back and relax. This is happening for a reason. Yes, you're isolated. Yes, this is it can get to you if you allow it to, but you're here for a reason. So just breathe and think and all the things, and look at a couple of books you've bought that you haven't had time to look at. Look at all those things and pay attention to the thoughts that come through your mind. So I've looked at, and don't get me wrong, I've had my episodes where I say, okay, enough of this, I'm ready to go back. I've had those times too, but I've also learned to appreciate the silence and the quietness and when I say quietness, I mean peacefulness. That came along with this. So I'm looking at it as an opportunity that if the air has to be filled with something, fill it with positive energy. Fill it with enlightenment. Bring balance to it. So we are not bystanders any longer. We are not. We are we're more than bystanders. And as we live and breathe, our responsibility is not only to those who are in the earth, but those who are above the earth, those who have come before us. We have responsibility. As
Ron, I have a comment. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
No, go ahead and finish.
No, all I was going to say is, go ahead, Evelyn. I'm sorry. I thought you said go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
It's on you.
I yield.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, like Pastor say, it's our fault. We wanted balance in the earth, so it's not going to come the way we think it's going to come. You know, it's not going to look the way we wanted it to look. So yeah, it was our fault. So we just got to put on our pants and just keep it moving. But I do believe it had, like you said, it happened for a reason. We need to start. I believe we're being pushed to know who we are. It's not about the car you drive, the house you live in, material things. It's about you. And if that flood hadn't happened, we still be going, or the hurricane, we still be going about our daily lives, you know, going this place, that place, in the phones, on the TV. God has a way of, the universe has a way of getting our attention. So yeah, it happened for a reason, and it was our fault in a good way. That's all I wanted to say for right now.
You're right. You remind me of something I had thought about yesterday, and I didn't say it, and it escaped me. But we talk about the scripture, and we talk about Jesus and all. The principles are still real, and one of the principles are that the followers, the believers, were in the upper room, meaning they were in a high elevated place. They saw and understood spiritual things, but they became afraid and they didn't know what to do with it. And something had to prod them to get them out of that upper room, to get them into action and doing the things that they're supposed to be engaged in. And perhaps that's where we are now. We're being prodded, we're being poked and said, okay, get out of that comfort place. Get out of that place. You see what's happening around you. You are very observant. And as George mentioned earlier, your awareness is very keen. But it's time to go to work. It's time to not only see, but to do. Not only think, but be action. So perhaps that's part of all of this that we're seeing. And the other thing I was thinking about too, if you watch a lot of videos or podcasts or whatever, you hear and see people thinking differently. People are waking up. And part of it, you hear, it's a little confusing, but they're waking up. It's no longer religion 101 that we all grew up with. So they need a beacon. They need a light. They need someone putting it out there in the macro because they're hungry and they're searching. All of that, I think, is part of who and what we are experiencing today, these days.
Ron, good morning. This is
Good morning. Hey, Audrey.
I have a question.
Okay.
You mentioned Hugo, and I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and she said some other ladies that she had talked to also mentioned Hugo, and they said it was worse than Hugo. This was people up in like Greenville, and Spartanburg area. But my question is, did anybody mention needing to deal with this hurricane? Because I know I didn't have any feeling of needing to deal with it. So I'm just wondering if any of the other teachers had any feeling of needing to deal with it or no, because maybe it was something that needed to happen.
I think that's a great question, Audrey, and I think you. Sorry, did someone say something?
Oh, forgive me. I took it off mute. For continue on and just let me know when you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to address Audrey's question. I mentioned the same thing to Pastor because the funny thing is usually when a storm comes along, I'm very aware of it. But this one happened and I saw it and I didn't see it. I knew it was coming, but I didn't pay attention to it. And I can't remember exactly what Pastor said. He knew it was coming too. But I wondered the same thing, Audrey. Did we not see this one? I think it had to happen. I think it was supposed to happen. And I would be curious if any of the other teachers were on and know what their thoughts and feelings were, because I knew it was happening, but I did not expect this type of devastation. I didn't expect this to happen like this. But is there anybody else or any of the other teachers? What did you guys think when this was approaching us? And there may not be
Good
anybody
morning.
on. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Barbara.
Hey, Bob.
No, I had, in order, in addressing the question, I had no compulsion to do anything differently as it relates to the storm, because the way that it was predicted, it was like, oh, it's out there and it might do this and it might do that. But the thing that I'm reminded of more than that is that what you guys talked about initially with the need, Evelyn started with the cleansing and then George came in with the spiritual underpinning of that. But this is what I've been going through. In other words, I think that we've been all going through some type of hurricane or storm within our personal lives.
Yeah.
I was sharing with Pastor, I've gone to 8 funerals in a month and a half. People I knew, people we were close to as a family, things like that, as well as sickness and illness and things like that. It's almost like it's something that can wipe you out. And so the thing that of getting through this is what you said, Ron, about where are you in the midst of it? And I believe that all of these things remind us that we have to settle within ourselves. We have to have peace within ourselves. We have to be balanced within ourselves in order to affect the storm, in order to get through the storm, in order to assist others in getting through their storms. That's what we've got to make sure that we're doing, regardless of what's out there, or what's seeming to come, or what's seeming not to come. It doesn't matter. We've got to be at that point where we are settled within ourselves, regardless of what happens, because this indeed does affect the physical storm, and it affects how people, as you say, when you put things in the macro, it affects how people pull from and put into their consciousness these thoughts as well. So it just was reflective of me and the storms that I've been mulling through, with the reminder that I got to stay centered. And that's the way that I quell the storms in me as well as in the universe. Thanks.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Oh,
One of the
George,
things-
hold on one sec. If you don't, give me 1 second, George. I want to address that, and I want to see if anybody else wants to address that. To me, hit the nail on the head. Hit the nail on the head because as Barbara's talking, hello?
Talking, Ron?
Ron?
Okay. I had one of those public service alerts. But I just want to say this, George, and I apologize to you for interrupting you. But Bob reminded me of something. I was going through some stuff, and it was about me. How am I going to get through this? And what do I need to do? And I was frustrated. And I did not think about that. I did not. That's what kept me from seeing a storm was coming. And you're right. We do need to stay centered. We do need to remember who we are. We do need to calm the storms inside of us. And it's not so much that you need to follow the weather patterns externally. You follow the weather patterns internally. And I think that hits the nail on the head, at least for me. So I just want to comment on that. I apologize, George. Please continue.
Nah, you good. I was in Orangeburg when Hugo hit. And one reason why I was calm was I had my daddy. And Hugo was rough. I mean, water moccasins, alligators coming down the road, and out of power weeks. Yet somehow we got on through. And the reason, like I said, why I was calm, I had my daddy. You can't mess with my daddy. And now where I am, when I got back home to look at what was really jumping off in Spartanburg, I had to be my daddy. And there are some people out here, they're very calm. And they're calm because who's present? One of the things I saw yesterday, my kids and their friends bought some pizza from Costco, 3 large pizzas. And I was disappointed in them because they didn't tell everyone in the house there was food. And you can't be like that in that kind of a situation. You just can't be like that in life. You bring something in, hey, anybody want a couple of slices? You walk into a break room, hey, I got some food. Anybody want something to eat? So there are some people who are calm now. And they're calm because who's present? It may be their grandmother there. Their grandmother presence keeps them calm. And the first thing that I did with myself was I communicated to myself, hey, George, push your patient button all the way in. Because when you're out here driving and there's no form of authority of a street light, I got to work with that vehicle across the street. Got to look at them. I may have the right of way. That doesn't mean I'm not supposed to do what's correct. If I see muscles in their forehead, yeah, you come on through. So that's the first thing I did with myself, implemented George, have the patience. The other thing in conclusion, I thought about everything my mom and daddy said. A half a tank of fuel is empty. Always keep a little cash on you. Learn how to can some vegetables, tomatoes. So People gonna be fine. I just want to implement that part. If you see a calm person, they may not be calm because it's what they're generating. They could be calm by a person whose presence is there that does not even fit what calm should be. Thank you.
Thank you. You bring up some interesting observations there, George. I like what you said about your dad, and that made you calm. And I also like the fact that you know that that's my role now. That's who you are. And looking at that from a spiritual perspective, that's very powerful. Yeah. Appreciate you sharing that. And the other part I caught, we do not forget we are community. Yeah. A morsel of food is very important right now if you haven't had power for 2 or 3 days. So to some it may sound like nothing, but it is an opportunity for a lesson. Thank you. Appreciate that. I'm sorry, someone else will speak.
Hey, Ron, this is Audrey again.
Hey,
George
Audrey.
sounds like what we were talking about yesterday, being educated versus trained.
Yeah.
And yes, our parents, our families educated us in terms of you know, how to be calm, how to survive in the world we lived in. And that can be ascribed to a spiritual kind of education too, although it wasn't really what they were trying to teach, but it ultimately turned into that. Because they taught us to assess any situation that we were in and to do what we felt like we needed to do to basically survive that situation. And we had to be in tune with ourselves and with our emotions and all of that so that we could get through. So in a spiritual sense, they were educating us spiritually, but also educating us in a way that helped us survive in a real physical kind of way. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much so. Very much so. I think our parents did an outstanding job, and I love that how we bring all of that energy together and talk about who we are and what we've learned and the impact those things have had on us. But that's what we do every week. We bring it forward. Someone else was about to speak.
Yeah, good morning, Ron. Again, this is GC from Philly, and I just want to thank both George and also, I believe it was Linda Thorne spoke in terms of taking care of her father. And when we think about the virtues of the Christian Kemetic teachings, it talks about, you know, the 3 main virtues of our thoughts, our words, and our actions. And just to hear, you know, the love that, you know, we have for our parents, the love that we have for those who nurture us, you know, it made me just realize, you know, the importance of manifesting our own individual process of thinking in terms of what it means to us. And as we were able to appreciate and understand the principles and the characteristics that guide our lives, you know, just to hear again, you know, what was said earlier about the care of caring for one's father, and at the same time, you know, what George just said, I mean, that really, I think, you know, it's the epiphany of us being able to appreciate that type of education and learning. So I just wanted to share those thoughts and thank you both for what they had said earlier. I'm done.
Thank you, George, and I agree with you what you and I just said. That really does kind of sports and put a bow on what we talked about yesterday. You understanding who you are based on those little small conversations, those little things that happen in our upbringing that did not seem significant at the time, even down to the point where, because I know you all had them, especially if you were, or like I say, in my generation, you had 100 pictures throughout the house, and you didn't know everybody, and you would ask, who is this? That's your aunt so and so. That's part of the education. All of that was part of you establishing your identity, and that is extremely important. So, as we have grown, and now those things mean more. We call them building memories and family memories, but all those things were a foundation of who we were and what we were to become. So when we got pushed into the world, you're in the world. You're in the world, but not of the world. And you're in the world, but not of the world. But you're able to even say that I have this degree, I have that degree. Whatever I do, I still know who I am. All of this, my job or whatever it is I have become as a result of this this schooling or whatever I've gone through, all of that is enhanced by who I am, by me recognizing who I am. That does not take the place of who I am. So all of that. And another thing that I thought about this morning, this is weird all this time, I thought about all the stargates and the planets and the age of Aquarius and all these things happening. And my thought is, would they be happening if there was not someone to receive them? And you say, well, science will say, well, these things have always happened, but have they happened in the what's the word I'm looking for? In the pattern, in the rhythm that they're happening now. So it's someone in the earth that knows how to repurpose energy, and someone that understands that this whole thing is about a transformation. We are steadily moving from one thing to another, returning to light. And that is the responsibility. So when we talk about the training, the training is necessary because it works as a catalyst to make you enhance your education. And it is necessary because of the world we live in. But we are who we are for a reason. And we understand, and we are one with nature for a reason. We studied. Mind mute the phone, please, for me. Thank you. We studied nature. We talked about the trees. We talked about astrology, and I'm reading this thing talking about how the Africans could map the stars and how they understood patterns and how they understood cycles, and they understood the relationship that they would have on the earth and the patterns of the plant life and all those things, and how all those things were connected, and even how they felt and the energy that they felt, all of those things were connected. There was nothing they were not a part of. It wasn't a part of man. We moved away from that. So we see these things, and we know they happen for a reason, and we know that maybe before we all met, however many years ago that was, this storm would be a lot of how I saw Hugo. I didn't think much of Hugo. I was nowhere near the church during Hugo. But I was dating someone, and I was just about to get married, if I remember correctly. And I remember this thing coming, and for some reason, this one felt different. It felt different. And I remember getting with a friend, and we filled up my dad's pickup truck with supplies. And we didn't get any further than Sumter, South Carolina, but we took stuff down there because we knew people were in need. I remember Hugo. I remember seeing Sumter National Forest and looking like the wind had taken a giant hedge clipper and cut those pine trees off evenly. It was the most beautiful thing you wanted to see, but it was also deadly, because how could Mother Nature do something like that? So precise, so even. But I remember that.
Ron, I have
So
a
here we are.
comment, if you're finished.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, go ahead. I'm just talking. I'm talking too much. Go ahead.
No, you're not. I appreciate the hurricane now. Before I joined the faith family, I didn't really understand why it was necessary for us to have it. But again, the hurricanes are really showing us who we are. We're being forced to know, to learn who we are, because a lot of material things have been taken away from us. The houses, the cell phones, no connection. Now you got to deal with your wife. You got to look them in the face. You got to deal with your husband. You got to look him in the face. Now you know your child's birthday. You know what's going on with your children. So yeah, if that's what it takes, let it be. You're going to learn who you are eventually. You're going to have to pass this, because you're going to keep getting the same test over and over again till we get it right. So I can see the transformation with a lot of things, but I welcome the hurricane. I welcome the storm, because y'all say out of chaos comes order. And that's the only way we're going to get it. I'm done.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Yeah, and also, Ron and everyone, sometimes it's not by the verbal word that guides us, it's by the silent word. And understand the principles and characteristics that guide our life. So again, you know, sometimes it's not all the time about a word that we hear, but sometimes it's about a silent word that helps us to appreciate this journey that we're on. I just wanted to share that thoughts behind Evelyn's words. I'm done.
You're absolutely correct. Thank you, both of you. And that's where we are right now. Whatever it takes. I got a text yesterday from an old boss of mine, and I don't know if anybody could pay me a better compliment than that text did. And what it was is he and I had gotten kind of close. He was my boss, and he'd come to me and we'd talk. And he'd tell me, say, I always feel better when I talk to you. But one day I was telling him about a situation. I remember when I was a child, and I probably told you guys about this, but we lived out in the country, and every time we have a very bad thunderstorm, it would knock the power out. And Mama had some candles in one of the cabinets in the kitchen, and we'd always get the candles out. We'd sit around and talking. And sometimes when I got to be a little older, you know, you didn't want to sit around and talk to them folk. It was family, but you didn't want to talk. But I always loved it. 5 minutes into it, I was so engaged. And we hear stuff and we talk about mama's childhood, or mama would ask us questions about stuff. And we sit there and talk for hours, even after the storm would pass. But one day when I was older, I saw mama cutting the breaker on. I saw mama in the cabinet cutting the breaker on. And in a split second, I was mad. I was like, you mean to tell me all these years we've been duped? And it hit me. Look at what you gained. Look at all those conversations. Those are the most fond memories, of some of them anyway, of my childhood. And to this day, I never said a word to her, and I never said any word to my siblings about what I saw. And when John texted me the other day, he said, I thought about that story. He said, I walked in the house, and then my whole family sat, and we didn't have any power, and everybody just sitting there. And I thought about you and your mom, and I sat down and said, let's talk. And I thought, wow. We are different, y'all, and we're different for a reason. This whole thing is, as we transform, as Barb said, calming that storm and being focused and bringing about balance inside of you is how the world will be balanced. It's something magical, and by magic I don't mean hocus pocus. I mean it's something that can't be explained. It's the moving and the transforming of energy. And that's who we are. It has to be somebody. Somebody has to do it. So, anyway, thoughts, questions?
Thank you for that, Ron. This is Jackie again.
Hey, Jackie.
And I appreciate you saying that, because I come from a family of talkers, and even I can talk, of course, but being here with my dad, he's been ill. We still don't have any power, but he's remaining hopeful and positive, and he's kind of brought calm to me, and saying it's a beautiful day. Today is another good day. I see the sunshine, blue skies out there. Today is a good day. And then so my husband and I, we went out looking for gas and something to eat last night. We came back. Dad was just sitting here, but then we came in, lit candles, had a flashlight, and we sat at the table and we talked. We talked about his childhood and things that he had gone through, and trucking, because he was a long haul trucker. And we just had a good conversation. And so when we all kind of went to bed, because we could talk whether it's power or not. And so we, husband told me, he said, that's what we needed right there. That's just what we needed, to settle down and just talk. So thank you for that, because that's exactly what we did. And it was good. I had said we needed a board game or something, but we just talked. And again, we talked about childhood. He had some stories for us, and it was good. So I'm learning to appreciate it. But I did recognize, okay, God, I hear you. When the hurricane, my husband, he couldn't get on his phone on Friday, and I'm here, because I couldn't go to work. Wasn't gonna leave Dad by himself. But anyway, he couldn't get on his phone, and it just let us recognize, just to piggyback on what Miss Evelyn said. We just, because with those cell phones, we become antisociable anyway, and we're not paying attention. So it did bring clarity, and it did just bring us to a halt to say, okay, I hear you, and this is what we got to do. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for sharing. Look at the beauty that has come from this. That's what we're doing now. We're sitting around talking. Beautiful. Anyone else?
Oh, yeah, Ron, let me just again say thank you, Sister Jackie. I sincerely appreciate your words. I appreciate your energy. I appreciate the fact that you took on the responsibility of caring and loving with regards to your father, and how your father was able to reciprocate in terms of reaching out to you to share that love. And I think that's the thought that, we are responsible for loving and caring for one another. And to hear it in the way that you said it, your vibration was just felt so strongly. And I thank you just for you putting it out there in the macro. And that's that unconditional love that I think that, again, just a blessing to hear today. So thank you so much again, Sister Jackie. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, George.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anyone else? Well, I didn't really have a whole lot today. I just I want to talk again. I think we have talked about what it means to be educated. And after I got off the phone yesterday, I was trying to think of better words to use. Educated and trained kind of threw us off a little bit. But, just looking at the things that shaped our identity and not throwing those things away, but seeing the value in them. If those things had not shaped us, if they still didn't have an impact in our lives, we wouldn't be on this phone. We wouldn't be here. We would have assimilated into a different world and without having an appreciation for who we were born to be. And we would be missed. And even, the one of the impacts as education talks about, as we've discussed, the oneness of all things created. Just think of where the world is now, or where it might be if there weren't people standing in the gap. There wasn't someone out there searching for truth and laying all aside to get it. So I say thank you. I thank you for everybody on this line. Thank you for your energy. And
Ron, I have one more comment before we get off.
Yes, ma'am.
You said when Hugo was here, you were engaged. Is that what I heard you say?
Yes, ma'am.
Was it Shaka Khan, the lady with the long hair that you with the eyelashes?
No, it wasn't Shaka Khan.
Okay, I'm just joking. Okay. I thought about the comment you made previously on the broadcast.
Well, she surprised me when I saw her on this little tape talking about meditation and in the importance of walking with it and being grounded with the earth and knowing who you are. That surprised me. And how to pray. And the other thing she said that I didn't mention, she talked about the universe being open. That full moon we had last week. She said it was a new moon, and it was something special because it attracted light. And she said, "What the things that you need, the things that you want to pray for, now is the opportunity." And I think, wow.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. And that,
Yeah.
I'm like a star, a person like her in an entertainment, because we all are stars, but this person is in the entertainment business, and they talking about what we talk about on Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays. Yeah.
It really caught me off guard, and I said, wow. And I thought, you know what? It doesn't matter who it comes from, because she's a celebrity. Hopefully people are listening. you know. But just
Yes,
keep,
I agree.
yeah. So anyway, thank you, Evelyn. Anyone else before we? All right. Well, I hope we gained a thought again. Thank you for everyone for your words and your energy. And if you have a question or something, hold it for tomorrow. Send me a text or whatever. And stay safe out there, okay? Especially if you're trying to drive and this, if you're in the upstate here. Stay safe. Until tomorrow, see you at 6. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Everybody have a good afternoon.